All right. So when I start a business, do I have to start with a proper business plan? Is it one that's fixed right at the outset, or is it something that evolves over time? And what are the elements that go into a business plan? How do I go about building one?
All right, so no. So you don't have to start a business with a business plan.
Okay.
And I think of the businesses that I've started, only one had a business plan and it failed, and two did not, and they did much better than the first one. Now, having said that, having a business plan helps. So think of a business plan as a much fuller, larger, complete version of the executive summary that we spoke about earlier. A business plan answers the same question the executive summary answers in a much more specific manner, a much more detailed manner. However, it is not a static document, it evolves. So if I'm building a business or building a product or a service, I start off with a set of basic assumptions that I think A will happen, then B will happen, then C will happen, then D will happen, and when E happens, we're all rich. As the business grows and evolves, you will find that all of these assumptions are not going to hold. Some of them will fall. And when they fall, you would need to find a replacement. And that replacement may be a very different assumption. And that very different assumption may lead to a very different business plan. So as you grow the business, as you move forward, you find that there are going to be instances when customers, features, pricing points, competitors will not do what you thought they were doing initially, which means that you need to come back and revisit. And sometimes this revisiting requires you to build a different product, play with a different set of features, focus on different customers, highlight different elements of your competition than you thought earlier, and so on and so forth. Right? A business plan is sort of like a drawing board that allows you to put your thoughts together and ideally maps how you will take a series of components at a certain cost and turn them into something a customer buys at another cost, leaving a fairly thick or substantial margin in between for your benefit. Right? So in my mind, I think the biggest value of a business plan for an entrepreneur is clearly chalking out this map. And there are many ways of saying what this is, but the most common term that we've seen is a business model, right? So how I'm going to take A, add B to it, turn it into C and sell it as D, and take 20%, 30%, 35%, 40% margin out of this entire process. Right? Investors, entrepreneurs, partners, employees, and sometimes customers also want to understand this. So if you have a clear picture in your mind, your blueprint has been well tweaked, well tested, well tried out, it is easier for you to answer these questions. But if you don't have this clearly, then you have an issue. So an investor may not necessarily read the business plan, and that's fine, because the person who's going to read the plan the most and benefit from it the most is the entrepreneur. Because if you remember, I said when we deal with customers have some basic questions. Investors, employees, partners also have the same basic questions. And a business plan sort of answers those same basic questions. And because you put that together, when those questions get asked, even if somebody hasn't read that document, you can answer that question in a very convincing, professional manner. And the impression that you create when you do that is that, this guy knows what he's talking about. He understands the space. He's
Right.
aware of what's happening there. He has credibility. And once somebody says you have credibility, then a lot of your problems go away.